This week's episode, it's our fall TV preview. A scandal hits the sports card industry, and is Eddie Murphy poised for a comeback? All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great stuff that we've got going on, whether it's our Pop Culture Cosmos or Game Source or even our Humanica Media formats. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. He is our comeback kid of Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to check out what's going on today at popculturecosmos.com. popculturecosmos.wordpress.com, and of course on social media at Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. Always great to have you on the show, my friend.
Always a pleasure. Can I just real quick give a shout out to Wendy's who brought back the spicy chicken nuggets? God
I heard that. I saw that trending.
So I went to the grocery store on Sunday night, bought all healthy food, and then someone, Daniel from Topic Eclipse, shot me a text saying that Wendy's brought back their spicy chicken nuggets. So all my plans for dieting went out the window, and I went straight to Wendy's that day. My goodness.
And so get on the keto diet right after it then, okay?
That's the plan.
Okay. Because I've got some kale over here myself, and I'm trying to go ahead and gnaw on it as much as I can because I know I got to shed a few pounds myself. But it is going to be a great show we've got for you today. Josh and I are going to be discussing the CBS Viacom merger, or the reunification, as it were, and what it means as far as overall to the entertainment industry and to one particular pop culture outlet in particular. Plus, also as well, we've got our good friend Vince Attulo from That Sports Card Show podcast. He's going to talk about some individuals in the sports world out there that you might want to start keying in on for rookie cards or sports cards that might be of interest that could increase in value going forward. Plus also a big-time scandal in the sports card industry. He's going to give us the latest and greatest news on that as well. And then, of course, it's time for our fall TV preview of the broadcast networks And who better do that than our good friend as well, Jessica Boggs from the TVRatingsGuide.com. She's going to be by on the back half of the show talking about all the great stuff going on this fall. Well, actually, she's going to be talking about all the stuff that's hot, all the stuff that's kind of tepid, and all the stuff that's kind of chilly and kind of cold when it comes to the broadcast networks this fall. But first, my friend, I want to talk about real quickly the merger the reunification that took place this past week in regards to CBS and Viacom, which had long been together beforehand, but in the earlier part of the century, in fact, the last decade, they did break up, but we're still kind of on good terms and whatnot. It wasn't like a really harsh type deal. It was just a kind of a breakup to see if they could go ahead and profitize a little bit better as separate entities. But they have reunified again. So CBS All Access, and major outlets like the Paramount Network, MTV, VH1, Comedy Central, a lot of big name cable outlets are all coming back together again under the same umbrella. When you read the news of that happening once again, what were your thoughts as far as the outlook going forward for a lot of these smaller networks, a lot of these cable networks, and then the bigger picture for the entire entity for the reunified CBS Viacom merger?
I'm just curious why it's happening, because obviously they parted ways because they wanted to seek opportunities elsewhere. So why the sudden interest in CBS again? Because Star Trek's doing well, or because they're having these streaming services coming out? What led to this merger, do you think, in your opinion?
I think the streaming market is a big key to it. As we researched it before the show, we did see that both entities have a streaming service in their back pocket. Obviously, CBS's All Access is the big key as far as from a streaming outlet on the CBS side. Viacom has a smaller entry as well in the streaming market, or a streaming service type deal, a streaming company that could go ahead and also pick up the slack as far as that's concerned. But maybe is this going to be more of, can we boost CBS All Access? Because CBS has lost its way in regards to the ratings. They were the dominant force, the number one network for many years. NBC in recent years has taken over that mantle. So this could be a new way of not only reinvigorating the CBS network and also giving a huge bump to CBS All Access, but to a lot of these other networks, some of which are doing okay, like Paramount with some great ratings from Yellowstone. Some of them are kind of all over the place when it comes to TV Land, Comedy Central, MTV and MTV and VH1, among others. I mean, it just seems like it was a needed jolt, and maybe this could be the kind of jolt that's needed to get a lot of people that had cut their cords to come back to watching cable and broadcast television again. I'm not sure, but also as well, this gives CBS All Access a big time boost, possibly if they go ahead and bring all that stuff from MTV, all that stuff from VH1, Paramount Pictures, because that's a big time part of this equation as well. Paramount Pictures is owned by Viacom, and that gets merged into it. So what happens when you've got all that stuff, including the Mission Impossible series? That could be a big thing as well. I know a lot of the trade papers have keyed in on Mission Impossible, but mainly Star Trek being the big beneficiary of this merger, including a possible extended universe now being sought out, like we've already seen with DC, and especially when it comes to Marvel. Do you see this being a big win for Star Trek fans? Because not only do we get to see it already happening on screen with CBS All Access, but we could see Star Trek again on larger platforms as well.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I'm trying to figure out, like, if they have CBS All Access, but what does that mean for all the other shows? Because doesn't MTV have their own streaming platform? VH1 has like a streaming app. What would all these join onto CBS? The logistics of this merger are confusing to me. I'm trying to figure it all out.
I have a feeling that they'll all go ahead and bump into CBS All Access, and that CBS All Access will become the biggest beneficiary of this. They may rebrand it, they may rename it, but I think CBS All Access is the most popular of these streaming outlets that they all have. So it would make the most logistical sense to bring in all this other content and make it available to the CBS All Access platform, or whatever they end up calling it if they go ahead and change the name. But they've also talked about a possible Mission Impossible series designed specifically for the television or streaming service market. And of course, there could be even more Star Trek shows on the way. The most recent Star Trek convention here in Las Vegas, there was some rumors heavily that the Mr. Spock character that was played in the most recent season of Star Trek Discovery, he could find himself in his own series coming up at a certain given point in time within the Star Trek universe. And that could reinvigorate people's interest in the Star Trek movies, which I know you and I have talked about, which I have been so disappointed in seeing Paramount not really making the push to put Star Trek back on the big screen.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Do you think that there would be some kind of crossover between like the Chris Pine movies and what CBS has got going on with Picard?
You could see that, and technically, if you were to take a look at it, from what I remember, when I first heard news and heard wind of the Star Trek Discovery series, it was supposed to take place about 10 years, 15 years, if I remember correctly, before the stuff that you would be seeing in the rebooted movies. Now, whether or not that's going to take place and they actually have Zachary Quinto or Chris Pine come into this equation as far as down to the big screen, that I'm not so sure. I mean, Chris Pine has done Netflix movies and other Netflix TNT movies of late. Zachary Quinto's on an A&E show, so I wouldn't put it past that. Whether or not Zoe Saldana would be part of it, that's the big thing, because she is the biggest earner, or the biggest, she's the biggest star right now out of anyone right now in the Star Trek universe, because of all she's doing with Avatar and the Marvel universe. You already know that. So will this be a big boon for Star Trek? I think it will, but like I said as well, any of the big or major or memorable properties from Paramount that is in their vault, so to speak, that could be a big beneficiary as well, and put on different platforms that it wasn't on before, or haven't been on in a long time. Plus, like I said, with the popularity of the Mission Impossible movies of late with Tom Cruise, this could be a sign that a Mission Impossible TV show could be around the corner as well.
That could be cool. And I know Quentin Tarantino is still expressing interest in doing a Star Trek film. So, I mean, maybe Quentin Tarantino would be interested in doing like a Mission Impossible film too. Like, it does open a lot of doors. That would be really cool to see. But yeah, it seems like they're taking a page out of, what Marvel and Disney are doing with the crossovers and the streaming platforms and stuff like that. It's another streaming platform to watch. But I mean, I hope it succeeds. I hope they do well. It would be cool to see Star Trek brought back onto the regular television, and maybe see another movie come out here soon. But yeah, man, I'm on board for it.
I mean, from a financial standpoint, it makes sense, because CBS and Paramount and Viacom and all those entities, they can see what's coming in the distance with Netflix. Obviously their programming in the near future has to change because of all the changes that are coming to it. Has to take a different shape because of all the changes coming to it. Plus, also, you have Apple coming out, you have Disney Plus coming out, you have a possible Google network coming out. You have so many different entities coming to the streaming marketplace that are trying to take over what we've seen in the past from the broadcast and cable networks. It's very interesting to see who has what. The HBO Warner Media Warner Media merger, that Warner Media streaming service, that's going to be a bigger entity coming up here in the next couple of years. So there's so many, there's so many entities putting their names in the hat, putting their weight behind their projects and their streaming services and television as a whole. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But I think this is going to be a big win for Star Trek fans, because Star Trek on the small screen is very hot. If it can take that momentum to a big screen and take it to another level, that could be the real key to whether or not Star Trek is going to be something that long term can be effective once again on television, as we saw in the 90s when it was really a hot property with The Next Generation and all the other shows that it spun off. We could see the same type of scenario repeating itself here in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Let's hope that's the case. And I just tell you right now, it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see what all these entities, including the now reunified CBS Viacom, what they're going to be doing here coming up in the near future for anybody interested in all of their upcoming projects. What are your thoughts out there on the reunification and the love fest now back once again between CBS and Viacom? Please share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Is this a great win for Star Trek and Mission Impossible fans? We'd love to hear what you have to say. Pop Culture Cosmos and Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, coming up next, we got our good friend Vince Attulo from That Sports Card Show podcast. He's going to break down the world of sports cards and a sports card scandal. You need to hear about what's going on, because it may affect a lot of people who think they have some very rare sports cards. This is the PCC Multiverse. And coming up next, we've got Jessica Boggs from the TVRatingsGuide.com. She's here with our fall TV preview coming up right after the break. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back to close out the show. It's the PCC Multiverse. If you need a listing of where we're at, because we're being played all around the world 7 days a week on radio stations worldwide, please check out our listings right on our Facebook page, Pop Culture Cosmos, where you also get a listing of many of our podcast outlets. In fact, you'll see, as far as radio stations, one of our awesome radio stations that we don't get to talk about enough. Want to say a big hello to our friends at Juice FM, The Juice. Check it out today, especially if you're in the UK. That's Juice FM, where we're being played on Sunday nights. And if you want to check out a great podcast outlet, we are back on Google Play Podcasts. It was funny because if you checked out Pop Culture Cosmos for the longest time, you would only see it. The last show was dated 2 years ago. Well, we finally figured out Google Play, Google Podcasts, and Pop Culture Cosmos finally got to sit down, get together. We finally talked it out, finally figured out what was going on. And you know what? We've been back. We're back on Google Play Podcasts. Our entire library of shows, the PCC Multiverse, the PCC Extra, everything that's been on the Pop Culture Cosmos that you get on so many of our other outlets, is now available once again on the Google Play Podcast outlet, on a Google Play Podcast platform. My friend, you got a great thing going with your big time hit, which just sold out on Amazon. It's Congratulations, You Suck. So tell me, my friend, if people want to check out a great book, where can they go get your latest and greatest Congratulations, You Suck?
You can find it on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com and BookLocker.com. But if you go into a store, go into your local Barnes & Noble, ask them to stock it on the shelves, they will do that, and that would greatly help me out as well.
And again, if you are into the Kindle or the Nook, there are versions available on that as well, and you can check that out at BarnesandNoble.com and, of course, Amazon.com. But congratulations, my friend, on selling out on Amazon.com. Congratulations. Get it? Congratulations, You Suck.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. That was good.
But congratulations, my friend. It's truly well-deserved. You've been getting some great reviews. And again, people need to check it out. Congratulations, You Suck.
Thank you.
Well, I want to go ahead and thank Vince Attulo from That Sports Card Show podcast and Jessica Boggs from the TV Ratings Guide for being on today's podcast. You will hear Jessica Boggs again on Monday's show, talking about what everybody seems to be talking about when it comes to television lately, and that's why is HBO's Succession such a hot hit and is now in its second season of such great interest. We're going to talk about why that's the case. Plus, also as well, we're going to talk about Josh and I are going to share thoughts on what went on this weekend at Gamescom, one of the world's largest video game conferences. A lot of information, a lot of news, press conferences, game announcements could be on the way. So we'll talk about that as well on the Monday program. And why do we need to get we'll also talk about why it is a good time to finally, for many of us out there, get into No Man's Sky. But before we head on out, my friend, I want to ask you, did you get a chance to check out Eddie Murphy's latest, a return by Eddie Murphy, back once again with the help of Netflix? Did you get a chance to see the trailer for his upcoming movie, Dolomite Is My Name?
Yeah, I did. It kind of reminds me of Black Dynamite, but they're trying to make a movie instead of like an action film.
But this is a remake, I believe, of the Dolomite character of the 1970s, if I'm not mistaken. But it's just good to have Eddie Murphy going ahead, and whether or not you're a big fan of his from yesteryear back in the 80s and 90s when his career was really hitting a stride, or you appreciate some of the work he's done, at least in this century, when it comes to especially his dramatic turn in Dreamgirls, which got a very great performance, which got very great critical reception. He has done a whole lot this past 20 years outside of that, which has kind of been a shame because he's so talented and he's got still, I think, a lot to offer. But a deal with Netflix could be on the horizon, not only for this film, which will still, I believe, be out in theaters along with being out on the streaming service, but there are rumors of him returning to the stand-up comedy scene. And Josh, I'll tell you right now, if that's the case, that could be a big win for fans out there, because if it's anything anywhere near of what it was in the 80s, as far as at its height of success in stand-up comedy, it could be really something special, and it could be something to get people back into the Netflix platform.
Right. Well, Raw is one of the most successful stand-up comedy pictures ever made. So if that he were to make something similar to that, like that would really do a lot for Netflix, especially if they put that out on DVD as well. Because Raw still sells, the copies of that on DVD and Blu-ray are still selling hot. So I mean, if that's something, you know, he's got the movie, I would hope that they wouldn't do like an Adam Sandler type deal. But if he signs on for a couple movies, couple stand-up specials, it could really do great things for Netflix.
It could, and there's also a there's also a Coming to America Part 2 that's also on the way, that he's a big part of course, since he was, you know, him and Arsenio Hall were the main guys behind the first one, and it's interesting to see all the names that are being rumored as far as that project as well. So he's poised for a comeback, my friend. Eddie Murphy is poised for a comeback, courtesy of Netflix or just courtesy of whatever's going on in his life. He's poised for a comeback, and from us at Pop Culture Cosmos, it's definitely great to see. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great